Okay, again, I'm recording on this because Cast-O-Matic is just a piece of junk. It rarely works, always crashes. So, all right, so that's my complaint. So, anyways, if you're looking at the screen there, I posted some videos, some older ones that I made of supply and demand. I think they're good, applicable. One's on toll lanes, the idea of how a toll lane works. Ideally, it's so. Anyway, supply and demand curves right here. So, got the demand curve and the supply curve, and what they are is they are made up. They are discrete, countable. They're not continuous. They're not lines. They're actually, in the real world, they would be points of individuals. There's a video called that's Why I'm Not an Austrian, and it's maybe by Kaplan or something. So it's by somebody that we, sorry about the moving, actually we like, but he uses this as one reason he doesn't like the idea that Austrians understand that these in the real world are discrete. They're points, right? We can draw a line through them, but it's not continuous. And his complaint was, well, if they're not continuous, they won't cross. Yeah, that's how it works, right? So in the real world, we don't have economic mainstream views of equilibriums where, oh, hey, at this price, everything just sells. So it's not quite, but that's the theoretical view, right? That's the model we've got to look at this through. So what you have is a supply is made up of a bunch of individuals supplying a product, and they're willing to supply that product at a given price, right? And so much. So as the price goes up, more and more people say, hey, I can make that for that, and I'd be willing to participate in this. And so that's what happens, right? So as the price goes up, more people say, hey, it's kind of like in labor. The labor market, as the price of labor goes up, you're going to see more and more individuals willing and able to supply labor into the market. If the price is 10 an hour, 12, 15, right? It's kind of, right now, the labor market's supposedly tight, but it's only tight at the high paying jobs, like 25 and up. But if you look at 20 an hour, there's like openings, right? There's a lot of openings. 15 an hour is a lot of openings. Businesses can't afford to pay that. So what you're going to have is, but as the price goes up, you see, hey, yeah, I would be willing to work that shift, right? And so that's what happens. And so demand, it's the other ways. With a very low price, so the price is low, right? So here, okay, so here's demand. So when the price is low, you have a lot of people say, hey, I would like to buy that, right? It's kind of like shoes. I've recently bought a few pairs of shoes, and I'm trying to get a good one, the right one. And for shoes, the lower the price point, the more willing people are to look at that shoe, try it on, say, hey, I think I would buy that, right? Some shoes have higher price points. They're more expensive. They got more stuff in them. Carbon plated shoes are pretty expensive. There's a lot of technology that goes into them. The carbon plate's expensive, yada, yada. So but for instance, I would never look at the shoe, but Saucony, I got a code for half off, and I was like, oh, hey. And then somebody complained, and actually the complaint about the code use was what made me really wanted to use it. So anyways, the price came significantly down, and so I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it actually is kind of cool. I would be interested to see what that shoe's like. Give it a try. So, not a big fan, a little narrow for my feet. But anyways, so, but as the price comes down, hey, I'm more willing to demand that product. And demand means willing and able to buy the good, right? And so that's how supply and demand work. The good example that I had was toll lanes, right? How does a toll lane work? 405 here in the Seattle, in the Bellevue area, they look as the demand for the lane, which is the number of cars driving in the lane, and they know this. The computer knows this because it's tagging every car that goes by one of these cameras, right? It tags the license plate or the RFID tag, right? The good to go pass. So it knows how many are in the lane and how much want the lane. And they have little algorithms that say, different levels, at different levels of demand, cars in the lane, the price will go up a quarter, 50 cents, once you get to a high point because the supply is fixed, right? There's only 2 lanes. Supply of road is fixed. They can't just open up more lanes. They do open up a shoulder during rush hour, but during rush hour is the only time really that anybody cares about the toll lanes anyway. So you've got supply and demand, right? So as the price goes up, less people want to use it, and that makes it more available to those willing to pay the price. All right, so it's a great example of how supply and demand do work in the real world, and it is discrete, right? There are a specific number of cars that are trying to use that lane. Okay. Name some factors that cause a shift. So if we want to think about supply and demand within the road, the only shifting of the supply curve would be they build another lane, or they have to close a lane because of a wreck or something, right? So you see shocks. A wreck would be a supply shock, would shift from 2 lanes to 1, and that's, suddenly the price would have to go way up, right? Because you've got significantly less supply. So in order to keep that lane flowing, you got to get the price way up. What shifts demand for that lane would be the amount of traffic, right? Certain people have different demand schedules. That is, I'm in a hurry today. Tomorrow I'll have all day.